Have you been caught up in self-doubt, overthinking, and taking things personally? Let me tell you the real culprit here, okay? It's your ego. Let's talk about it. So I am definitely someone who can say I spent a lot of time allowing my ego to run the show. I thought I was my ego. I had no idea that all this time I was taking things personally, right? Getting triggered by what people would say, responding from a place of anger, that it was really my ego who was hurt, not me. So who is me and who is this ego? When I'm talking about me, I'm talking about pure consciousness. I am talking about the observer. I am talking about the witnesser of the experience, right? When I talk about the ego, I'm talking about the mental construct, right? This version of us that give us this sense of identity. Because at our core, we are the observer. We are pure consciousness. And you can tell this because who is the one paying attention to life? Who is the one seeing it all? Who is this me you speak of? Who is the me? So I want to tell you a little bit about the ego. As I mentioned already, the ego is a mental construct. It is our sense of identity, right? We are souls with bodies, right? So we get these bodies, and part of our role here on earth and a part of the way that humans are made up is that even though we are part of pure consciousness, even though we are one with all that is, what helps us be able to filter out and believe that we are separate is our sense of identity, right? Is our egos. And so the ego is made up of beliefs, of stories, of past experience, because the ego does not create, right? It only reacts. It only takes in information and kind of makes stories out of it, okay? So our ego is developed in our early childhood. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this. If you are interested in really diving deep into the ego and understanding it from the beginning to the end, I do have a course called Manage the Ego mini course, and it literally is a reflection of my experience in remembering that I am not my ego, right? So our ego are developed during our childhood. This is the stage where we are basically being told who we are as humans, what it means to be humans, preparing us for our human experience. When you look at kids, they are just wild, free. They are just going with the flow. They don't really get caught up in their emotions. They may be crying one minute and then the next minute they done moved on and they're in a whole new state of being. The reason for that is that children don't have egos yet, right? Their egos are not fully developed. So they're not so attached to the stories. They're not so attached to the experiences that happen. But once they start internalizing stories, start internalizing what they're being told, start internalizing the ideas about what their experience means, then they start to develop their ego, right? And then their ego starts to give them this sense of identity, this sense of this is me and this is you, right? The separateness, which is so beautiful. But as we go about life and we continue to develop these egos, right, we start to really get lost in them, believing like, hey, I am this ego, right? I am this woman, right? I am a black woman. I am a attorney, right? I am a coach. I am a guide. I am a spiritualist. I am Christian. I am a dog owner. I am a mother. I am a sister, right? We start collecting all these identities and attaching to them. And when we attach to these identities, we believe we need to protect it. And the thing about the ego is that ego likes certainty, right? This belief of certainty. It likes security. It likes knowing that, it knows what to expect. And so a big role of our ego is to protect us. And in doing that, what ends up happening is it gets overactive, right? It starts wanting to protect us from anything it believes can be harmful. But the ego doesn't really know what can be harmful except what is already been fed, right? What is already seen, what is already witnessed. So that's why someone who, even though probably never been homeless before, lost a job before, can fear that because they've witnessed it. They've seen it happen. They know it's possible, right? And so they have this fear that even though it never happened to them, they have it because the ego has created a story behind it, an identity behind it, a belief about it. And the belief is you need to be scared of this. You need to keep this job so that you don't end up there. And so the ego's role in this is to integrate, right? It's supposed to be a filter for our higher self, right? For pure consciousness, right? It's supposed to be the way in which, please hold that very lightly. It is a way in which consciousness can filter through us to have a unique experience, right? Like even though we're both humans, I am not you. I did not have your experience. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you've been taught. I don't know what you've had access to. But because of all your experiences, your experience as a human will be so different from mine. How you react to things will be so different from me because what you're filtering the world through is a different set of rules and regulations and beliefs and ideas and identities than I have. And so that's the beautiful thing about being human. And that's why I'm obsessed with ego. I'm obsessed with these studies because it really helped me to see everyone in the light of love, understanding that we're all having our unique experience. And though we are all one, though we are all part of pure consciousness, we're all filtering that energy through a different lens, and therefore it is expressing differently, right? It is showing up differently. It's being perceived differently. This is why we all seem to have different realities, because our egos, right, our beliefs, our filters, it's actually channeling that energy through and expressing it. Now, the issue with the ego, not the issue, but one of the things about the ego is that the ego does not create, right? It reacts. And so the ego basically bases a lot of things on, please hold. I'm going to try to remember where I left off. But the ego does not create, it reacts, right? It responds from a place, and I say react and not respond. And I'm using respond now, but react because it's very instinctual, right? The idea of ego, one of the big roles of our ego is to protect us. So the ego is always on high alert. It's like, what do I need to protect you from? What is going on? It's always looking for something to keep itself busy with, right? Keep its role, keep its job as our protector. And so what ends up happening though is that when we get in situations and circumstances, right, if you're not aware, right, if you're living from a state of your subconscious, it's like a survival, you can call it like your state of survival, or depending on where you are in your state of being, it could be survival state, the victim mentality state, like different states. And I'm just like naming these just to give you an idea. But depending on where you are, your primary state of being depends on a lot of times how you're filtering. I know for me, I spent a lot of time believing that I was my ego. I had no idea. I was like, yeah, people used to say all the time, oh, you got a big ego, but I had no idea. I just took it as, oh, like you have this big head, you think you're better, you know, this inflated sense of self, right? That's how I took it, but I never knew it as deep as I know it now, in the sense that like, oh, my ego is everything that I say I am, right? Because I am really pure consciousness. But having this human experience, I am now pure consciousness as Charlie, right? And so when I'm being, right, when I'm in a state of being, the consciousness is being filtered through me, right? Consciousness is expressing itself through me, but through my filter as Charlie. Now the thing is, am I in a state of being, or am I in a state of ego, right? And in a state of being, I'm being present. I'm in the moment. Everything is being filtered from the present experience. However, when I'm in a state of ego, things are being filtered from past experience, from memories, from beliefs that I'm holding on to. And so I'm not necessarily seeing things as they are. I'm seeing them as I am, right? Or as I'm being. If I'm being ego, then that's what I'm filtering it through. If I'm being like pure consciousness observer, then that's what I'm filtering through. So hopefully I got most of it wrapped up in this video. A lot longer than I expected, but here we are. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. I'm going to do some more videos about the ego because I'm obsessed with it. And also, we pulled a card today that really was about ego and mirroring and how our external world is just a reflection of our internal world, which very much into that. So I love you. Have your best day on purpose. Leave some notes in the comments. Let me know.